I don't want you to retire early and hope things work out. I don't want you to retire early and go, wow, I hope that I don't have a big healthcare event that's going to put me in a tough spot. I hope that markets perform well. And if those things work out, I'm going to be okay. I hope that when I give my child $30,000 for a wedding, it's not going to impact me and my long-term care needs in the future. I don't want you to retire on the hope aspect, especially if you're retiring early. If you are going to retire early, as you know, you're going to need that income to last for even longer. And I joke here at the firm, but my trigger word here is fine. And a lot of you know this already, but I don't do fine. I do optimize. So my coworkers will make fun of me for that, and I'm okay with it. But what I really want you to know today is the following. I want you to optimize and look back and go, wow, I crossed every box. I know I am going to be okay, regardless of what markets do, because I have the income I need. I know if something does happen, I am going to be okay. And I know if something happens to my spouse, they will be taken care of as well. I don't want you to spend your time worrying about it. I don't want you to give $30,000 to your child for a wedding and go, I hope that means I'm going to be okay in long-term care if I need it. Or you know what, I hope I take $20,000 and go have fun on this trip, and I don't know what that means in the future, but I see it's in my account today, so I'm just going to go do it. I want you to do it and feel good about it. And I want you to know how much you can spend doing it. Sometimes people think you go to an advisor and they're going to tell you, please stop doing this and don't do that. So there's a natural hesitancy to even reach out. My feedback's often the opposite. Now, I'm not in the business of showing anyone a rosy picture, okay? I'm going to show you what you're on track for, but there are years where I'm telling my clients, please go take an extra trip. This is the year to do it. Here's the year where we might want to scale back. Not entirely, but maybe we're doing 1 or 2 trips, not 4 or 5. In other instances, hey, this is the year, go do all the trips you've dreamt of. Market's doing this, tax strategy looks like this. This is a great year to do it. But I want you to optimize it. So please do not retire early unless these 6 things that I'm going to go over today are happening with your plan. If you don't know, I'm Ari, a financial planner, and all I do is help people retire early. I'm the host of the Early Retirement Podcast and vice president here at Root. Because of all of you, the podcast has over 300,000 downloads, and I love helping people just like you feel confident towards your early retirement. My goal is to help 1 million people retire early. And whether I'm working with you one-on-one as a client, you're watching these YouTube videos, or you're digesting my podcast content, or everything else I do, I hope that this helps you feel confident. So my request is that if you want to retire early, that you don't do it alone. You do it with a friend or a coworker. So please do share this content if it's helpful with them. Number 1, how much income do you need? If you want to retire early, cash flow is the name of the game. So number 1, I just said income strategy, but if you need any help kind of getting a sense of what are you going to want to spend, look in the link below. Of course, I have my cash flow planner in there. You can click that. It is in the description. It might be a few links below, but you'll be able to see that and use that for yourself if it's helpful. Now, I want you to know not just where's income going to come from, but what account are we using? Is it coming from a Roth IRA? Is it coming from an IRA? Is it coming from a brokerage account? And I'll give you the pro tips from the people that retire early. It's ideally you are using a brokerage account if you have one, because if you want to retire early, you want to keep your income very low. When you keep your income low, it allows you to do tax strategy. If you were to take, let's just say $8,000 a month, that's what you need so you can do what you want to do. The reality is if you took $8,000 from your brokerage account, that does not increase your income. Now there's capital gains depending on a few different factors, but sometimes you can pay 0% in taxes. And that's going to be one of my points today, where depending on your income, you might be able to pay literally 0% in taxes on brokerage account gains. Now with an IRA, that increases your income. You've gotten a deduction all these years putting money into your 401k. When you take it out, you pay taxes. Now your Roth IRA, we're going to want to touch that last. That is the best account for tax-free growth. So people will often say, Ari, how do I create income to generate my early retirement? I'll say, I need to make sure that every single account is dialed in a very specific way. Your Roth IRA account, that's going to be growing for us for a very long time. So let's make sure it's dialed in to grow that way. I want oftentimes 100% equities in that account. Now your IRA might need to be a little bit more conservative because I need to make sure that income can last for a very long time, but we're going to need it in the medium to short term oftentimes. Then there's a brokerage account, and the brokerage account oftentimes tends to be the best account to pull from first for tax purposes. But that's just your investments. Maybe you have Social Security. Maybe that's already turned on. Maybe you're going, Ari, when should I collect? Because I know from your previous videos or podcasts that if I collect my Social Security early, it puts less pressure on the portfolio. And it certainly does. But many people don't look at the following, which is what if you delayed Social Security, yes, to maximize your benefit, but not the primary reason, but it's to be able to keep your income low, to do more tax planning. And that's what so many people fail to consider, is most people just look at Social Security in this example of, I like it because it's going to be that stable income source there. And it's taxed differently based off of where you are around the country. But the reality is I want to make sure that that strategy of Social Security is talking to your real estate. Maybe you don't have real estate. Maybe you have rental income, but maybe you're not renting out your primary residence. Maybe, like I said, it's a separate property. Maybe there's no rental income, but there's inheritance. Maybe there's no inheritance, but there's a pension. Maybe there's no pension, but there's an early retirement incentive program. So I need to make sure that your investments are speaking to every other aspect of your income source, and you know how you're going to create income the next 30, 40 years. By the way, one question that I get all the time is how much do people actually spend in retirement? Not because it's you, but people are just curious, hey, what is the average? And before I even tell you the answer, please put your guesses below. I always like hearing from you guys. It's just more fun as I make this content. I want to hear from you guys. So put your guesses below and I'll tell you the answer right now in 3, 2, 1. The answer is the average is between $6,000 and $8,000 a month. Now I put out a quiz before on my YouTube community page and you guys were like, oh my gosh, are people really spending $8,000 a month? Yes, I have clients that are spending $20,000 a month, $25,000 a month, and that's what they want to do so that they have a fulfilled retirement. And they might be working longer than you because of what they want to spend. I have other clients that go, Ari, I could not see myself spending more than $5,000 a month. And if that's you, great. Like there's nothing wrong with that. No person's right or wrong, but the average is in that $6,000 to $8,000 a month. That's what they're spending after taxes adjusted for inflation. That's just the average. Number 2 is an investment strategy. If you're going, Ari, I think I've got a 60-40 portfolio, meaning 60% equities, 40% fixed income. I think that's what I hear a lot of people do in retirement. So that's what I'm going to do. Then you don't have the right plan. And you need to have one that completely is dictated by what you want to spend in retirement, by your assets. In my opinion, too many people get way too conservative. And that's the word I want you to think about right now, conservative. Conservative means different things to different people. So here's what I did. I asked my clients, I said, what does conservative mean to you? And here's what the first person said. They said, Ari, conservative to me means that I don't see my money go up and down a whole bunch when I'm retired because I know I don't have a ton of time to recover. It's not as if I'm 20 or 30 and I can wait for 30, 40 years. I go, very fair. I like that definition. I asked someone else an hour later, actually. I said, what does conservative mean to you? They said, Ari, conservative means that I don't leave anything on the table unnecessarily. It's not saying I'm not going to be happy or unhappy, depending on what markets they're doing, but it's saying that I don't want to look back going, I could have had millions of more dollars through just good planning. And so it's not that one of those is right and one's wrong. It's saying conservative to most people is I don't want to see risk. And that definition of risk is their money going up and down a whole bunch. And I go, I agree. But the real risk here is that we run out of money because we don't outpace inflation. So I don't need 100% growing like crazy. I also don't want too much in conservative assets. So here's what I do. I do not ask you, what is your age and what's your risk tolerance? Because to me, that's cookie cutter. As you know, I had someone send me this jar behind me. This jar was given to me because someone listens to the podcast. They know that number 1, I like cookies, which I do. But number 2 is that they know I don't believe in a cookie cutter strategy. It has to be dependent on what you want to do in life. You might want to spend $8,000 a month. Your neighbor might want to spend $10,000 a month. You might want to retire at 60 and they might want to retire at 55. We need to make sure your investments are reflecting what you want, not the opposite. Most people go 60-40 portfolio or 70-30, some growth, some income. I want to go way deeper than that and make sure that your plan is actually reflecting what you want in life. Involved in your investment strategy is the fact that it's not just your investments that are dictating all of your income. There's probably Social Security, there's probably a pension, there's probably other income sources, and we need to make sure those are being configured into the plan. And here's why. Let's pretend that you want to spend $100,000 every single year, and you have a pension that makes up $100,000, okay? Technically here, if you have any other assets that you don't need it, okay, that's my point. Example A here. Now, person B here, they want to spend $100,000 just like person A, but their pension only makes up $50,000 of it. So person A, they want to spend $100,000, their pension covers the full $100,000. Person B wants to spend $100,000, but they only have $50,000. So they're only covering about half of that. So in this example, person A, who wants to spend $100,000 and pension covers $100,000, they have $2 million, okay? And their $2 million can technically fluctuate as much as possible in a hypothetical here, regardless of emotion, because they have their income from their pension. Person B here, they have $2 million, but they need, once again, $50,000 that's not coming from the pension to come from somewhere so they can go spend $100,000 a year. Both people should have very different investments. Technically, person A could have 100% equities. Doesn't mean that they want that. Doesn't mean that's the experience they're looking for. But on paper, they could because they have their income covered by their pension. Person B, they need some conservative assets. They need enough there to be able to supplement lifestyle and the income to come from their pension because it's not fully being supported by that. So can we have two people here, both want to try at 60, both want to spend 100K? They should have very different investment approaches. Number 3 is tax strategy. So many people overlook this. When you retire early, your income might be very low. And a lot of you know my cauliflower example, but I'm going to give it again right here. When your income is very low, the reality is you have an opportunity. You can say, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. I've paid so many years of taxes. I can't wait to pay no taxes. Maybe very little taxes. Or you could say, what if I followed Ari's cauliflower example where he ate a little bit of cauliflower, paid a little bit in taxes to avoid having to eat a ton of cauliflower even when you're full in the future. And that's what RMDs are like. And here's what I mean by that. If you have a very healthy portfolio, odds are if you're invested well, you're going to have to take out more than you know what to do with in the future because you might have Social Security, you might have other income sources, you might have a pension, you might on top of that have to take out what's called a required minimum distribution. For most of you, that's going to be age 75, but for a lot of you, it could be 73 or 74 based off of your age. The reality is, I don't want you looking back going, oh my gosh, I saved a little bit in taxes by not having to pay a little bit during these years just to face a huge tax bill in the future. So I want to make sure we're thinking about that in light of the whole plan. Because the reality is taxes could be, if not the biggest expense of your entire retirement. And I don't want you to look back paying any more in taxes than you need to. My dopey joke, which a lot of you know by now, but I'll give it again. I'm all about being patriotic, just not to the point you pay more in taxes than you need to. Good tax strategy can oftentimes save hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in planning. So I asked all my clients, hey, why do you pay me? They go, all right, I pay you because I don't want to have to deal with the tax planning, which I know is extremely beneficial to an early retirement. I said, fair. Is that still why you pay me? They go, no. I go, why do you pay me? I pay you because I don't want to have to do it. I want to make sure what's dialed in is dialed in and that I'm not leaving anything on the table. The two most common phrases I hear are I don't know what I don't know, or I know enough to be dangerous. Number 4, if you want to retire early, is not the sexiest, but it might be the most important. Insurance. Do you have long-term care? Do you know if you need it? Washington is a state that requires long-term care right now. California is likely to go that way. So if you're going to need long-term care, even if you think you could self-insure and be okay, the reality is you might need a policy before premiums shoot way up. What about a disability? If a disability occurred, would you be okay? What about umbrella insurance? Most people go, all right, I've got a net worth of $5 million. Let me get a $5 million umbrella insurance policy. Without remembering or even considering the fact that auto and home takes a portion of that already. So the reality is most people that come to me who don't have umbrella insurance, it's they need it. And most people that have umbrella insurance is they're paying an unnecessary amount. And I just saved a client about $80,000 over the next 10 years from just decreasing their umbrella policy just last week. The reality is don't pay more than you need to, and some of these nuances can get really tricky. When I say insurance, I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking, Ari, I want to retire early. Did you not mention health insurance right there? And I didn't, because I have an ebook dedicated to health insurance. I wrote a book on it because it's one of the top 5 questions I'm asked. See that in the description below. The 5th thing I need you to think about is your estate plan. And some people's estate plan is, Ari, help me die with 0. And if you haven't read the book, it's a good one, so check it out. But a lot of people, it's, Ari, I'm not going to be happy with you if I pass away with $10 million. Great, you shouldn't be happy with me. You should be very upset because you told me your goal is to spend more. We need to make sure that's happening. Other people, it's, Ari, I want to leave $1 million to a child or $2 million to a child. I say, great, well, what do we have to do to make it happen? So the goal here is how can you make sure your investments and income and tax strategy are all speaking to one another? Because more often than not, it's a little all over the place when people come to me, and it's because there's a lot of moving pieces to this. Very simple estate things need to be in order. Do we have a will? Do we have a trust? Do you have beneficiaries listed? Do you have PODs? So more often than not, a POD is a payable on death. So at your bank account, right now is someone listed there. So maybe you've got $200,000 or $300,000 at the bank. Is your spouse or children listed there if something happens? Or is the state going to decide what happens? And even if the state ends up coming to the resolution that you would have wanted, how much time and hassle did they go through to get it? These are the small things that often get added to the to-do list that I need to make sure are taken care of. But here's the fun estate planning. And I always save this at the end because I love this stuff. So here's what I need you to really think about. Why wait until you're in your 80s or 90s to start doing estate planning? What if you can give more, especially for tax purposes? It could be really effective to children to buy a first home, or for college planning, or just in general. You see what you're going to be projected to have and you couldn't spend it even if you wanted to. Why not start gifting strategically if it can help for tax purposes as well, so you don't look back and go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I've got 10 million bucks. It's, well, why didn't you pass with maybe $1 million or fewer by being able to give along the way really effectively? And number 6 here really should have gone first, but it is purpose. Do not retire with the, oh, I hope things work out because I know what I'm going to spend my time doing once I figure it out. That is not a recipe for success, okay? And the way you talk about purpose is really important. Yeah, I said it correctly. The way you talk about purpose, you're talking to yourself about this. And it's very common for you to go, I'll figure it out. I've retired. I'm going to find hobbies. And then people don't. And that's a sad reality. And like I said, I want you to retire with purpose and fulfillment. So yes, we talk about 401ks here at the firm. Yes, we talk about Roth IRAs, but we also have a retirement lifestyle coach on staff whose only job is to make sure you find fulfillment in retirement. That's something no one else in the industry is doing. Because to me, if I have a great financial plan for my client, but you're not satisfied in life, we don't really have a good plan. I need you happy, okay? And I know it sounds odd, but the reality is most advisors used to just look at numbers. I don't. I look at numbers and go, how do we use those so you can go live the best life ever, okay? I want to make sure that you are really finding purpose. And sometimes it's hard because you've worked a job that's really stressful for 20, 30 years. And it's already, I don't know what I'm going to do. So as opposed to retiring and figuring it out, what can we start to do today to start to test out what things you really enjoy and what you could see yourself doing? So that if I forced you to retire tomorrow, you would have a sense of, okay, here's the things I would start dipping my toe in. So to me, purpose really should be number 1 here, regardless of finances. Now, yes, you need the finances to support lifestyle, but that's a reality. Those are the 6 tips that I want you to at least think through and have a plan for before you retire early. The reality is, of course, there's more to it. We didn't talk about a whole bunch of different things that I love doing with clients, but the reality is it's a good framework. If this has been helpful, please share this with someone who you want to retire early with. It's a whole lot more fun to retire with someone, with friends and family. Gloating can be fun, but maybe for a day or two. And then at that point, it's, hey, let's go have fun together. So, of course, please do share this with someone that you think you'd like to go travel with or retire early with or just have fun with. I want to make sure that you have total confidence. Don't retire early with confidence that you are in a wonderful position. All this to say, I love doing this for clients. So if this is something you're interested in, of course, reach out to myself and you can see in the description below how I help people optimize their money. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you don't know, I am the host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and this is what I love doing. I help people create a custom strategy to retire early. You can always reach out to me or a member of our team here at Root, and we would be happy to walk you through our planning process to show you how we can help you get more life out of your money.